Welcome to Abnormal, the podcast for normal people who want to do abnormal things. Today we're joined by one of the stars of the infamous Cirque du Soleil, Kaat Dumarey. Kat, welcome to Abnormal. How are you?
Very much. I'm very good, thank you.
Now, we were just discussing before we started that I did, in fact, come and see the show 2 weeks ago. You're currently in Hong Kong, and it was probably one of the most impressive things I've ever seen with my eyes.
Oh,
How
thank you.
how
That's very
how
nice to
would
hear.
you how would you describe it to people that don't know what Cirque du Soleil is?
Mm, I think it is something where human beings push the limits in every kind of aspect, in a physical aspect, in a creative aspect, in a technical aspect. Yeah, in every kind of aspect, I think we're trying to push the limits and impress the people and entertain the people where they get inspired if they watch the show. And yeah, that's why we do it. We want to inspire people. We want to tell them a story. We want to touch them by the soul.
I mean, you certainly did that. And can you help us understand as well? There's many different acts in Cirque du Soleil, which I'm now learning. And my understanding is that they're not always the same acts every night, or even some shows around the world change. So which part of the show are you involved in directly? What do you do in the Cirque du Soleil?
I'm in the act, the teeterboard act. So to explain it, it's like a seesaw, basically. So I stay on one side of the board and the guys jump on the other side. Then I fly in the air and I land again on the guys. Like the guys stay on each other's shoulders and then I land on top of them. So that makes it a three human tower. Yeah, that's what we do.
It's insane. Like when I obviously from doing my research, and I came to watch the show having messaged you before I came to the show. So I kind of had an eye out to see which one you were and which one you're doing. I mean, every part of it is breathtaking, but that one in particular, I think there's just something so basic about it because you're standing on one side of a board, you're being absolutely launched into the air as high as possible, and you're somersaulting and twisting around and doing all this amazing stuff. It's so visual. What does that sensation feel like when you're that high up in the air? Is there ever like, do you ever get worried that you're going to fall one night, or is it so normal to you now that it's like going to sleep?
It's not normal. It's a discipline I learned only 2 years ago.
Wow.
So it's very not normal to me. For some of them, it is because some of them have experience for over 25 years. So in the team, we have, it's a very traditional act. So it's coming from the Russian circus back in the day,
Mm.
a long time ago. Um, so some of the people have a lot of experience. For me, I have less experience in this particular discipline. Um, every show is adrenaline rush. I love it. It's amazing. It's yeah, the adrenaline you get from doing that jump, landing the jump, and then seeing the reaction of the audience is amazing.
Have you
And
ever had any bad moments on stage where it hasn't gone right?
well, sometimes it happens where you just don't land on those two people, um, which is normal. We're all human beings, and sometimes like there's so many people involved, there's so many things involved. If one thing is off, sometimes it's not fixable, but we always have spotters in the bottom of the trick.
Right.
And spotters are people who catch the person if they don't land on the on the column. So yeah, there's we're never touching the floor.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it seems like from the degree of danger that you guys have, it didn't look like there was that many like safety protocols in the show. Like there was one point where there was a net under one of the acts on like the high wire.
High wire.
You then realize that that net is just to catch the chair, really, that they throw off at the end, and and then when you're doing your tumbles mid air, to the blind eye, which is what I would define myself as, it doesn't look like there's much safety involved. It looks like things could go horribly wrong at any point in time. But I
Yeah.
suppose within the intricacies of the organization, you know that these guys are there to spot you. They've always got one eye on making sure that things are going well, you're not going to fall. And so they're ready at
They,
any moment to jump in and catch you.
yes, they got their whole body for us. They're not just having one eye. They have their whole body. They're gonna go catch us. Like, um, yeah,
That's
this
a
is
lot of
something.
trust involved.
But yes, but I think this is the trick to make it like the audience get the attention on the what's happening and not on the safety protocols.
Mm.
But there is a lot of safety protocols, like the net you were talking about. This is actually also for the artist, of course. If something would go wrong, they would land in a net and everything would be okay. But I think that is the trick of the circus, to keep the attention on where it should be and where the excitement is.
Yeah, I mean it's you. It's not hard to do that. You guys are doing so much crazy stuff in the show, and I want to get more into it later on. But first of all, I want to talk about like your origin story. Like how I'm watching this show, and obviously I'm amazed, and my jaw is wide open the whole time. I'm sweating, my heart rate is super high. But also when I had time to digest it after, and I was talking to my wife back at home, we're saying, how does anyone get into Cirque du Soleil? Like, how does that become your life, and what does that life look like? So first of all, I know you have a background in gymnastics. Could you help explain to us a bit more about your background, what exactly you achieved before joining Cirque du Soleil? Because from what I've seen and read, you had a very, very illustrious career as a national gymnast.
Yeah, that's correct. I'm from Belgium. So I started gymnastics when I was 7 years old, which is actually pretty late. Normally you start when you're much younger. Um, I started when I was seven in just artistic gymnastics, the ones you see on the Olympics, the beam, the vault, the floor, the bars. And then when I was 11, I went to the national team from Belgium in gymnastics. Next door, the acrobatic gymnasts were training there, also in the national team. And they kind of spun an eye on me and they were like, we want that girl. Um, and I don't know, I was intrigued by their trainings. I was intrigued by the way they were training. They're training in a
What's the
group, right?
difference? What's the
Yes.
difference in the two
So
disciplines?
gymnastics, you're training solo, you're training by yourself. Everything is solo. When you're in a team, when you're doing acrobatic gymnastics, you train with two, with three, or with four. So you always train in a team and you build the pyramids and you
Mm.
throw each other in the air and you catch each other. Um, I was kind of intrigued by it. And the fact that the Russian coaches were in Belgium, but they are Russian coaches. I was like, God damn it, that looks cool. That looks amazing. I want to do that. I want to fly higher than I can when I'm just flying by myself, you know? Um, so yeah, I uh I was like, okay, why not? Let's do it. So I started acrobatic gymnastics, sorry, when I was 12 years old. Um, it's a big change of discipline because you're going from solo to working together with people. So I had lots of bumps in the road where you have to figure out the discipline first. But then in 2014, so I was 15 then, we went to our first World Championships in Paris at the time, and then we became third. We got the bronze medal there with our team. So two other girls. I
And you were
was
just
with.
15 years old at the time.
I was 15 years old. Yes, as a
Wow.
flyer.
Is that
This
what
was
sort of in terms of gymnasts? Is that are you in your peak at 15 years old? Like where does that sit in
for a
terms of your
flyer. Yes, for a flyer,
really?
15, 16 is the peak in acrobatic gymnastics on
That's
competing
insane.
level.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I know.
What was it
Um,
like at the time to sorry, I just want to poke further on this. because I'm so intrigued about different people's, stories to get to where they are now. And obviously, you're doing a load of cool things now. But 15 years old as going to the World Championships, and I'm sure that the training for that type of stuff would have been super intense. So, what was it like at such a young age being thrown straight into that high pressure environment where you're not, again, I don't want to speak on your behalf, but famously, gymnasts and Olympians in general don't have the traditional childhood that a lot of people would associate with being a child, right? So, what was that like for you in your experiences?
Yeah, for sure. So I was in boarding school from Monday to Friday. It was in Ghent in the center there. You train 28 hours a week. So you wake up
Wow.
6:30. You go to training at 7:30 to 10:30. Then you go to school for 4 hours, and then you go like normal school, right? Where you learn maths and physics and chemistry. And then you go back to training for 3 hours. Then you go home, you eat, you do your homework, and you sleep. And you do it again, 6 out of 7. For 7 years, I did this. With 2 weeks of vacation in a whole year.
And how good were those 2 weeks?
Uh, yeah, you still have to train a little bit, you know? Because otherwise you come back and you're like, I
And I'm
can't do
sure in
anything
your
anymore.
head you're competitive with yourself, right? You're like, if I don't train, then my
Yes,
competitors are going to be training in
yes.
these 2 weeks. I'm going to
At that
lose it.
moment, if you would not, also, if you would not train and you would go back, it would be very bad because the amount you train before, your body is so used to it that the moment you drop it, that amount of 2 weeks, there's no way of coming back from that
That's
to that
crazy.
level.
And how
So,
do you think that played like? How do you think that affected you, if at all, like mentally? Because that's such high pressure to not be allowed 2 weeks without training. Like, do you think that affected you in any way, positive and negative?
I think it affected me a lot, but in a good way, where now that's a hobby, right? That's called a
Mm,
hobby. Because in Belgium, we don't get paid for that. Like sometimes, and US, yeah, yeah. And US, everybody knows you get paid if you're an Olympian, you get an amount of money. But at that moment in Belgium, there is no salary for that. It's not a job. It's a
damn.
hobby. And at this moment in my life, I made from my hobby my career. Like now I'm actually making money, which is amazing to me. Like it's a passion. If you do it 28 hours a week for 7 years, it has to be your passion. And
Mm.
of course, some days you're like, man, I do not want to wake up at 6:30 in the morning and go train for 3 hours. Because those trainings are also, it's not just a little bit standing around.
It's
You
intense.
gotta go, you gotta get that gold medal.
And you've got, it's one of those rare sports where if you're not focused, the danger level is extremely high because, as you
Yes.
say, you're the one tumbling, right? You're the one doing the flips in the air, and if you're not
Yes.
switched on, it's not like running. I'll go for a run. If I'm
Yes.
not
Yes.
switched on, I might not get a quick time. Okay, fine. If you're
Yes.
not switched on
Right.
and you miss your landing mark or whatever, you could break a leg, get a concussion, which puts you out for a couple months or all this sort of stuff. So mentally, that toll must have been crazy.
Yeah, for sure. It built me for my life. Like the discipline I got from that with the boarding school, with the Russian coaches, but only I think I only see it in a good way. Yeah, I couldn't go to a birthday party from a friend. Man, I got a gold medal on a European game.
That's true.
I got
It's a
three.
good trade off. It's a good
So
trade
that,
off.
yeah.
What is it about then? You've mentioned it a couple times now. The Russian coaches, are they famous in gymnastics for being the best
Yes.
in the world, or being
So,
what are
yeah.
they famous for, and why was that so important for your development?
In acrobatics, Russia is one of the highest. Like they always get the top three for sure,
Right.
even gold. So they have the good technique, they have the good way of training, which we're so lucky in Belgium to have those coaches. They're doing an amazing job. Like also the choreography. So it's not only the elements, it's also the dance. We have an amazing choreographer for our routines, which just brings that level of Belgium to
Mm.
the just to that limit where you want it, where you need it for those competitions. So it's the full package of those trainings we get to experience in Belgium, which is amazing, which brings Belgium really on the map for acrobatic gymnastics, thanks to
Yeah,
those coaches.
I imagine that's when you've got a coach like that and you know that they know the formula to win as a gymnast or as an athlete. It's a very attractive proposition to be under that person's regime for however many years, so that if you just do what they say, there's a high chance that you're going to get to where you're going to get to. And that level of discipline, Kat, like what you're saying, like I used to be a professional rugby player myself, and I would consider myself pretty disciplined, actually really disciplined, even now in my life. But I've always had an admiration for two main disciplines. I'd say gymnastics and swimmers are the two disciplines where I'm like, and rowers maybe, where it's like different kind of discipline. There's so many hours that go into it, and gymnastics is probably a bit more entertaining in my eyes, because at least there's some diversity. You've got your team, as you said, because you change disciplines. Whereas swimming and rowing, it seems like you're just on your own, face down in a pool, like staring at a line. But still, it's the same story. You've got to commit the same number of hours. You've got to commit your whole life to this way of living. And so then, what were the main sacrifices for you as a child growing up that you felt like you had to give up in order to get to where you got to?
Just a quick one from me before we get back to the episode. Over the last couple of months, I've been working on a free goal setting template, which I've learned from my experiences and from the guests that we've had on the podcast. I've put it all together in a free downloadable template that I will leave a link for in the link below. So if you do want to do that and use the same goal setting template that I use every single morning, every single day to achieve my goals, feel free to click on the link and get your free template today. Back to the episode.
I think in that moment in my life, I didn't feel like I had to sacrifice because it was so normal for me. It was it was normal. Like we lived with the
Mm.
people who had to do the same things. You're kind of in that bubble. Like we're with all the national team sports. So there is normal gymnastics, there is fencing, there is football. Like all the national team uh, youth players are there, are in that same bubble. I didn't feel like I had to sacrifice. I was grateful to be there. And I think if you feel like that, it makes it so much easier. Because of course there's people who are there and they feel like, oh, I cannot go party. I cannot
Mm.
go drink on a Friday. I cannot do other things that I want to do. Like you cannot go skiing, because it's dangerous. It's a dangerous sport. You cannot do it. I never skied in my life, but I don't care. I don't like the snow. Um, so yeah. So there's people who feel like they have to sacrifice and then they quit because they're
Yeah.
like, oh, we want to do those things. I was like, I'm gonna go get the gold medal.
That's it's so obvious just from speaking to you for 18 minutes that the passion is there and it's always been there. And it's really cool. I love speaking to people like yourself in different areas of life, whether it's business, content, sports, whatever. But when you speak to someone who's that invested in their journey, it's so inspiring. And you did get the gold in European champs, right? In
So
2015.
after in 2015, we went to the first European Games ever organized. That was in Baku in Azerbaijan. Um, it was amazing to be at a competition like that. Everything organized super nicely. It's like the Olympic, it's like the Olympic Games for not
Mm,
Olympic sports. So you had the village. It was
so
amazing.
cool.
I was 16 years old at that moment, and I was like, wow, this is insane. Also, the pressure of performing there good was also very high. So it was very stressful, but we got 3 gold medals there. We
Wow.
beat the Russians.
I can
So
tell from looking at your face just by saying that we beat the Russians. You're like, come on, that's a huge deal.
it's a huge deal for Belgians. If you see us on the map, you don't even
Yeah.
see us.
Yeah.
It's not. Like, not even. I think some people don't even know where on the map Belgium is located. Um, and
That's so
then,
cool. That's so
yeah.
cool. And so as a 16-year-old, you've got that experience then. And am I right in saying then through this whole process of winning the bronze and the world champs, winning these 3 golds, this whole time you're not paid?
No, we get, well, from the organization, you get like from the actual competition, because we get the medals, we receive some money for the medals
But to
from the
train
organization,
for Belgium,
government.
so it's still just, a passion at this stage. You're
No
still
hobby.
like self-funded, and do you get sponsors and things?
No, my
Oh my
mom.
gosh, this is crazy. So were you, I mean, I was about to ask a stupid question. I was going to say, oh, were you working at the time as well? But you were 15 years old, 16 years old. So
No work yet. Going to school, but yeah, just normal school. Um, we
wow, so
saw.
you're winning gold medals for your country and doing it all off your own back. They should thank you now. They should really give you a huge pot of money and say thank you for funding that, by the way.
They did, like, when we actually got the first gold medal, the media exploded. And normally gymnastics is one of the, no, in Belgium it's cycling and soccer. That's it. Those are the 2 things in Belgium. But at our first gold medal, I remember the media exploded. Like, it was insane. And that was very nice to see, to get those reactions from, yeah, newspapers, radio, just, yeah, the news. It was amazing.
Did that give you some more positive attention in terms of potential sponsors, and or did that lead to any opportunities that you didn't have before, or was it just the media attention that it got?
I think I was just happy with, finally our sport was a little bit seen.
Mm.
Like, finally they, but like, they realized, like, oh, we're good at something.
Mm.
Like, there's people that actually are winning gold medals on European championships. And now there's still in world championships, European championships, every year we are winning medals.
Wow.
Yes, it is. It's like Belgium is a big country in this discipline, and I don't think it's sane enough and it's seen enough by other people, because there's no sponsors. Like, there's nothing, which is
That's
very
crazy to
sad.
hear. It's crazy to hear. You kind
Yeah.
of can't help think, but imagine if there were sponsors. Imagine how the performance level that could be achieved.
Yes, yes,
Because
for sure.
I'm sure there's talent in every country and every sport that gets missed opportunities because maybe they're not able to fund their passions or whatever.
For sure.
Um, but anyway, so that was 15, 16. Do you mind me asking how old you are now?
I'm 25 right now.
25. So
Yeah.
at what age was it then that you kind of retired from gymnastics, or stopped doing the national stuff? And
So when 16, I kind of
16.
retired. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
After the European Games, we went to the European Championships where we got another gold, and then we're like, okay, it's enough.
Wow. So
Um,
16, retired at 16.
yes, because that's the thing. We do it, like, we got the medals, we got the results. We're not
Yeah.
getting any money. We're happy.
Yeah. So what was the next step then? You're just a 16-year-old, but you've already achieved so much in your first career. What was next after that, building into Cirque du Soleil? Like what happened in between those years, and what age did you get into Cirque du Soleil?
Yeah. So I watched the Cirque du Soleil show when I was about 9 years old in Belgium. So I was just doing gymnastics at that moment, and I told my mom that that's what I want to do. I want to be on that stage one day. So that's what I did when I finished sports. There was people already who made the transition from acrobatic gymnastics into Cirque du Soleil. So it's a transition that is possible.
Is it
And
quite a normal thing to do for people to go from gymnastics? And is Cirque du Soleil the natural progression, or is there like other doors that people go down and other things?
there is definitely other doors too. There is other circus companies. There is also coaching. There's also some people who are like, man, I'm done with this sport. I
Hmm.
want to go, I don't know, do some photography or something. Like, there's for sure a lot of paths possible. I think that kind of path I went through, I think for anybody, it's a good way of creating your discipline,
Hmm.
creating self motivation, creating that kind of things to be able to do anything what you want with your life. As long as you want it, you will
Hmm.
get it.
So at what age then was it when those conversations with Cirque du Soleil first started?
So the problem is with Cirque now, there is a rule that you have to be 18 to be
Ah.
performing in a show. Yes. So I trained by myself, just kept training um on my handstands and like aerial awareness, trampoline, conditioning for 2 years basically, and still finishing my school because school finishes at 18 in Belgium. And then when I was 17, I got a call from, like, I sent some videos out in a profile, casting profile from Cirque du Soleil. When I was 17, I got a call from Montreal, the headquarters, and they were like, yeah, so we're doing this performance program where you train before you go on stage, before you go in a show. Would you be interested? I was like, yes, hell yes, of course I am. So when I was 17, I didn't do my, I don't know how to call it in English. Is proclamation? Is that how you call it? When you finish school and then you get the celebration,
Oh, God, graduation. The
the
American word is
graduation,
graduation.
yes.
Yeah.
So I didn't do that one. I was already at Montreal doing the training. My mom picked up my and yeah, she took a picture of it. So yeah, then I was in Montreal training for 3 months in the summer when I was 17. And
And then that
yeah,
leads into what, like a selection process to get into the show, or what
yeah.
happens then?
So they hire. We were a group of 15 people, and then they always know they have 3 positions free.
Right.
Um, like directly, like immediately after those 3 months.
Mm.
Of course, maybe some other positions may open later on, but I think 1 month before we finished, they offered me a contract to go to the show Curios at that moment, where I was not 18 yet, so I had to wait 1 more week to go. But yeah, I waited until I was 18, and then I was able to fly and go and join the show. So that was my first contract with Cirque du Soleil when I was
Wow. And what do those contracts look like? I'm not asking financially. Just like, is it you're contracted for a certain period of time, a number of shows, on indefinite? Like, what sort of deal is it?
Yeah, so at the moment I was hired to go to Japan, where they hire more people because the show load is higher. So they want more artists. So at the moment I was just hired for that amount of time, for the Japan time, which was 18 months. So yeah, I got a contract for 18 months. Sometimes it's temporary contracts where you replace people who are injured, or
Mm.
sometimes it's mostly yearly contracts, and then you get renewed every year.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
so at the moment, then you're on a yearly contract.
Yes, that's
Okay,
basically
and
it.
that's the same with most of the performers.
Yes.
So that first show you were in, you did a stint in Japan for 18 months.
Yes, we were in Japan for 18 months.
Wow, that must have
Yes.
been pretty special.
It was crazy. The first 3 months, I didn't go out of my hotel room. I was shocked.
Why?
I was shocked. I was 18 years old. I could barely speak English. I could for
Ah,
sure
yeah.
speak Japanese. And yes, I was in a culture shock. I was like, what is this?
Did you ever miss home in during those moments?
I miss my dog.
It's always the dog,
Yes,
isn't it? It's
I
always the
miss my
dog more than
dog
the family.
and the Belgian chocolate. I think that are
Mm.
the two biggest things I miss. But
I've
you
got a
can.
question.
So
When you're on the road, then I'm skipping forward a bit here, but I'm really interested to know about you guys and the life of a Cirque du Soleil performer. So you did 18 months in Japan. You're currently in Hong Kong. It seems like you travel all around the world. Um, how long do you base yourself in each country you go
so if
to?
you're traveling with a tent, so the big top we call it, then it's mostly 2 to 3 months in each city you are or each
Okay.
country. It depends how big the country is, how often you move. Before Hong Kong, we were 4 years in North America. So that
Four
is,
years.
yeah, 4 years did
So you
America.
were in the North. You personally were in North America for 4 years.
I was not in North America for 4 years. I joined Kusa later on.
Okay.
But yeah, they travel uh every 3 to 4 months, different cities there. And then now doing 3 months in Hong Kong. And then we'll go to Korea, where it's also 2 months. And then um after that there is nothing signed yet.
Nothing signed yet. And then, so you're staying in a hotel this whole time when you're in these cities.
At the moment, yeah, it's Asia, so it's everything is smaller, right? I
Yeah.
mean, you should know that. Um, so in North America, everything is bigger, so there's more. It's more studio, so there is a kitchen, a small kitchen.
Okay. But you haven't
Um,
got a kitchen at the moment in Hong Kong.
yeah, no, at the moment, no. In Hong Kong, we don't have a kitchen. It's just a hotel room.
That must be pretty tricky. Like you guys are athletes, so you need to, I imagine you need to control your diet as well, right?
Yeah, for sure. But we get breakfast in the hotel here, which is super nice. And then after there is meals that the circus provide for us always. There's
Mm.
always lunch and dinner provided on working days.
Is it good food?
So yes, it's very good. It's always lots of choice, lots of protein, vegetarian, everything. Like they are amazing. They're the best cooks in the world
Well,
for
they
me.
need to look after you super well. When you're
Yeah.
in these cities, then, do you get a chance to really soak in the city? Like you're here for, I'd say 2 to 3 months is not really a super long time, but it's long enough to try to build up some form of a routine, get to know somewhere, get to know your favorite coffee shops and all that sort of stuff. Do you feel like you get to live in these places for 2 to 3 months, or do you feel like you're just a
Me too.
visitor coming through?
No, I definitely do. Like you say, I found my favorite coffee shop, and
Which coffee
um,
shop?
at the moment, I found a very nice one just around the corner. It's called Latte, I think. I really liked
I have
it.
to check it out.
Yes, it's very nice. Um, and yeah, you are still a tourist because you are. We have 2 days off every week, which we do the tourist stuff like visit now in Hong Kong, visit the big Buddha, go see the monkeys, like maybe go to Macau, um, like all the tourist things. And I think the amount of time we're in the city, it's a very good balance between settling in and then being like, okay, I've seen it, let's move on to the next thing.
And what's that like as a style of life? Because a lot of people like having a home base, like having all their own furniture, their own bed, all that sort of stuff. So what's that? How would you describe your way of life? And talk us through some of like the positives and some of the downsides as well.
Yeah, I think I would describe it as minimalistic because I am traveling with two suitcases.
Mm.
That's my life at the moment. It's two suitcases. But I make this my hotel room with some small things, you know, a blanket, some Christmas lights I put on. That's it. I don't need more. I think I have the rich life and the experiences I get, which are so much more valuable to me than real things. I don't see the
Very, very
point
wise.
of having a lot of things. What's the point of having that? I don't see the value to that. It's much more about the experiences you live, to experience different cultures, to talk to people about different stuff. Like it's so much more valuable than having something
Mm.
in your hands.
And what have been your can you quickly rattle through the cities or countries that you've performed in and you've spent a decent period of time in?
Yes, I can.
Or
So I did.
some of your favorites as well.
Oh, my favorite one for sure, Singapore. So after 18 months,
What?
and
What? You
Singapore
can't
is
say that. We're in Hong Kong. You can't say Singapore is your favorite.
it is. I'm sorry. I loved Singapore. It was amazing. It's clean, it's safe, it's the quality of everything is amazing. Yes, I loved it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really cool to hear actually because I mean I don't know if you know and I might get a lot of hate for this but the running joke in Hong Kong amongst people that live here is that Singapore is just a boring version of Hong Kong and it's trying to be Hong Kong. So again, that's not me saying it, so don't come at me in the comments. This is just the general consensus and it's memed a lot of the time. A lot of memes get made about
I see.
Hong
I see.
Kong and Singapore's relationship. So that's really cool to know. And how long did
Yeah.
you spend there?
3 months. We did 3 months in Singapore.
Wow. Wow, that's
And after
amazing.
we went to Australia, which was also lovely. Australia is also such a lovely country. And then pandemic hit.
Ah,
So
right.
yeah, pandemic hit. We went all back home. And
So
then I
during the
started,
pandemic, I assume you just couldn't perform, right? You just had to go back to Belgium and
yes, back to
wait
Belgium.
until things resumed.
Yeah, the worst time in my life, I think. That was very tough pandemic. Because as a performer, like that was we knew that was the last thing that would come back because it's not an
Yeah, live events.
essential thing. It's a luxury thing and it's something we were very scared for our jobs. Like there was nothing. Um so yeah, pandemic was tough on us for sure. For every performer.
Mm.
Um or everybody
Anyone in live events, I think, really got hit hard by that. And especially, I know it seems a bit crazy to say, but when you're a live performer like yourselves, all of your like energy comes from being on stage, I imagine, and being under the spotlights, having that pressure. So when you're just at home training, it's just so not the same. It's like torture, I imagine.
I never had a routine like that ever in my life, like in pandemic,
Mm.
because I was able to. Now every day my routine changes because the schedule changes, the training change. Every day is different, and in pandemic, every day was the same. So
How do you find that though? Like for me, I'm such a routine guy. Now that makes me sound boring as anything. I don't think I'm boring, but I just love my routine. I love waking up early. I love training. I love being productive. I love having my life in order. If I woke up tomorrow and you were to tell me, okay, for 3 months, we're going to live in this random city, every day is going to be different, part of me would be excited, but part of me would be thinking, shit, I'm not sure if I'm going to enjoy this. I like my routine.
yeah, for sure.
Would you say you operate well in that kind of chaos?
I am a very planning person too. Like I
Mm.
write my planning down for the week, but in big lines because I know it's gonna change. So it's like, oh yeah, it will look something like that, you know? And I try to plan in my workouts, like I wanna have for sure 4 workouts done, upper body, lower body, lower body.
Mm.
But which day it's gonna be, I don't know. It depends of the trainings, depends of the shows, depends what happens, you know, like, but I try to have that strategic of
Yeah, makes
having
sense.
weekly a big line of it. And yes, it's challenging at some times where some days you come home and you're like, what was that? Like you wake up with a thing, oh yes, I have that show, that show, that show, and this training, and I'm gonna do that show track because our show tracks change, right?
Ah, wait, what do you mean? So when you say show track, what's a show track?
A show track is that so we do our main acts for sure, and then we have some little cues that we do, some appearances on stage.
Hmm.
Um, so show tracks change, but they're always like you kind of know which show track is which day. But then you come at work and there's somebody sick, there's somebody injured, something happened, and everything changes. And then
That's
you're like, oh,
crazy.
Kat, can you do that? And can you learn this? And can you do this? And you're like, yes, yes, yes. And then you go out there and you have no clue, you know? You've never done it before, but there is no training time to practice it before. So you just gotta go. You just gotta do it.
Tell us, have you got any examples of this for you, for yourself personally?
Um, well, you've seen the show, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's in the
Yes.
show.
So in the high wire, there is the high wire that needs to get set up.
Hmm.
Yeah. So the
It's
high
quite
wire
a
set.
big operation, that setup. They
It's a
do a
big
really good
operation.
job of like distracting the audience, but if you look closely, it's quite a big job to set that whole thing up.
Yeah. So everybody has their specific
Yeah.
thing to do at that moment, you know? And then if you suddenly have to do another thing, you're like, okay, I have to do that. Well, let's try it, you know? And yeah, there is somebody there is always technicians watching you, of course, at that moment, and they will always make sure everything is safe. But then at the same time, you have to entertain the people because that's why you're
Yeah,
there,
yeah.
of course. So yeah, you're trying to pretend that you know what you're doing and that you're trying to entertain them, but actually somewhere inside you're like, oh my God, I don't know what it is. Yeah, fake it till you make it.
Amen. Amen. That is the motto of life. I love that.
Yes, fake it till you make
Um,
it.
so you mentioned the training there and sort of planning out your week. Every city you go to, do you like have a gym that you're affiliated with that you sign up to? Do you have your own training facility as part of Cirque du Soleil? What's that setup
Um,
like?
yeah, so in the tent we have a little gym area where we can do workouts. At the moment in this hotel we also have a gym, which is very nice. So depends city on city what is the best thing to do. Sometimes I go to CrossFit gym if I can find one close by because I like to do that.
Mm.
If the training schedule and the show schedule is allowing that, of course, because that's always priority. Um, so yeah, it really depends city on city what we're doing. But
And
we
do
always
you
find a way.
do you get along well with everyone else you're on tour with? Like the whole show, the whole cast. I guess you have to, right? To an extent. If you're not, then it's
I mean,
a
it's
pretty
like a
lonely
real
experience.
family, you know? Sometimes you hate them and sometimes you love them.
Is that really the case? Is it like behind the scenes? It's like a proper family, lots of
Yes,
arguments, but also a
yes,
lot of love.
we're a real family and we all love each other. Sometimes we're like, like a real family, you know?
Have you had any like funny moments either behind the scenes or on stage with your performers that you can share,
Funny moment. Well,
or
we're
mess
always
ups?
having fun backstage for sure. But I think the one of the most funny moments was for me on stage when I went for the bows. I just tripped over my own feet and I fell on my stomach on the stage in front of all the audience because the audience are pretty close at that moment.
Was this in Hong Kong or was this somewhere
You
else?
look down and you're like, oh my God, Kat, you can do all those things, but you cannot just run on stage.
I was going to say, you've just done like 4 backflips in the air and stood on some random guy's shoulders, and then you're running out to get your applause and you trip over and fall on your face.
Exactly. Yeah, so I
Oh,
think
you got to
one of,
laugh. You got to laugh.
yeah, that's one of my favorite moments.
So you get along really well then, and what's the sort of average timeline of Cirque du Soleil performers? Like in your head, if we're just talking about you, you're 25 years old now. How long do you foresee yourself doing this, living this life?
For me, really, as long as my body is willing to and is able to, of course. And as long as I feel the passion, as long as I feel my soul happy every day when I go out on the stage, I think I can do it for sure. Maybe 50 more years.
Wow.
Yeah. I
And would
think
you
that's
see your role changing? Does that happen with people? If now you're like a tumbler and you're doing all these crazy bits in the air, as you get older, and again, I don't want to speak out of turn, but physically you might have more challenges as you get older. Would your role then change within the whole performance? And would they find places for you because you're part of the family, you know what's going on?
it's very possible that you can learn a different discipline that is more fitting your physical abilities at that moment. So then you gotta just train that discipline and then hope that they have a position for you somewhere. So it's really about like taking it in your own hands and going for it. If you're like, oh, I will not be able to do this in 10 more years. Okay, so I gotta start now training some other disciplines that I will be able to make sure I'm good enough at it, and then you gotta hope that there's a position for you.
Is there a discipline now from any of the shows that you look at and you sort of think, oh, I would like to give that a go. Maybe that's part of my future, or I'd like to add that to my kind of skill set?
At the moment, I'm really enjoying training some aerials. So you've seen the show. I think it was the girl with the tissue. Yeah. So in this show, it's that act, but there's different kind of aerials. So it's basically where you hold the apparatus and you do kind of all the crazy acrobatic poses in the air and spins and turns and everything. I think that is one that I'm definitely interested in to learn and to develop more.
Is there any acts then that I would know or the listeners might know? Okay, I need to give this some context because when I'm watching it as someone who's so unathletically gifted and everything is just blowing my mind, every single act there seems incredibly impressive, and I don't think I could choose one that I could put above all the rest and say, right, that is the best one, that's the most difficult, that's the most impressive. From your perspective as an athlete, as a gymnast, is there one act that stands head and shoulders above the rest that you would say, in your opinion, is the most technically difficult or the most impressive one to perform?
No, I don't think so. I
So
think
we
in the
share the same opinion.
yeah, I think in the circus world, that is just the beauty of it. All disciplines have their own difficulties and their own challenges. It's not possible to compare apples and pears. It's not possible to compare a high wire with a wheel of dad with a teeter board act. It's just not possible. It's different kind of abilities. It's different. It's so different that you cannot compare them. So I think everybody in every discipline is at their highest level and they always perform to their highest level.
Yeah, I mean, that's the impression that I got. It seems like every act is very unique and it almost feels they do a really good job of separating the acts. So you have your team for the acts, but then everything is tied in really well together with like the storyline, the scenes in between, the transitions. So in terms of your training, how much of it is you train in your act group, so the people you're directly associated with, versus like all of you are training together, you've got a routine that you all need to fit into? Or is it kind of like you can take out some parts, add in some parts, take out some parts, add in some parts? What does it go
Yeah.
like?
So in the theater board, we train 2 times a week, about 2 hours. So that is just the tricks we train. But then the things you were talking about transitions and choreography and moments on stage, sometimes they will pick some of those parts out and they're like, okay, we need to clean it up because it doesn't look good.
Okay.
Which will happen also during the week, which will always change, and you never know when it's going to happen. So yeah, it's always it's different types of training. It's skill training, or we have the artistic training where we do the choreography and the cues appearance on stage.
And what's the coaching like for you guys? Is there ever times when they feel like you're underperforming and they like yell at you and have a huge go at you? Or well, yeah, what's it like? What's the coaching setup like?
We have a head coach, and she is responsible for all the acts. And then every act has their own captain role, like has one person who's captain, and then he's responsible for that certain act.
But the
And it's,
captain is also a performer, or it's
yes,
separate?
the captain is also a performer, exactly. Um, and yeah, so it's a very open space. Like we're all professionals, right? Because we did all the training a long time ago already in our lives. So at this moment in our life, we know what is good for us. We know what we have to do. A lot of the coaching is just seeing a video of you looking at it and like, oh, there's my mistake. So we train a lot by that, by just recording it and seeing what actually we're doing. And like that, we can get feedback. And
Yeah,
of course,
you're
also,
all operating at your peak right now.
yeah, we're like, you cannot. Yes, it is. We're professional acrobats. We know what to do. We know our bodies. We know our limits. Also, this is also very important to know your limits, to be like, can you do that trick? And you're like, no, I'm sorry. At this moment, I cannot do this trick.
I love that, at this moment, but there's always the
Yes,
chance.
exactly. At this moment, no. But I can train for it, of course.
So humor me for a second then here, because this is a debate that I always have with my friends or my wife or family when we're talking. Normally it's around Olympic sports, right? The age old question: if you could train for 5 years or 4 years, a full Olympic cycle, and have the best chance of competing in the Olympics at a certain sport, what would it be? And then you'd have to choose a sport, and that's the sport you'd have the most chance of qualifying in. Reality is it's probably none of them. But humor me for the disciplines in Cirque du Soleil. So you've got someone like myself, who the average male, I would say I'm more athletic than the average male. I was an ex-professional athlete. I'll give myself that. Thank you, humble brag. But if you gave me 1 year of full-time training with you guys, what is the job that I could do with the least probability of failure in Cirque du Soleil? Now, an actual performing job, not like backstage chef or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. Just 1 year.
1 year, full time. You can do whatever you want with me, full nutrition program, everything.
Well, what would you want to do?
Well, I I said this to my wife, and I said probably the wheels, the two spinning wheels.
Rid of that.
I
Yes.
think not that I would want to do that, but I think of all of them, I think, I don't know, that would be the highest chance of success, because the others I think are physically impossible for me in a year. I think the all the ones, like the muscular ones, the flexibility ones, I honestly think are physical impossibilities for me within a 1 year span. And probably the Wheel of Death is as well, but that's the closest I think I could get. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts on that?
I think that would be, yeah. If you're really committing to it, if you really want it, I think maybe you have a chance.
My stop laughing.
Sorry.
My rationale for the Wheel of Death one is because I think, I mean, all of them do, but this one in particular requires a lot of balls. It's a lot of like, put your fear to the side and commit. Obviously, you
Yes.
need to be physically able to do it and do all the training as well. But when they took off and they performed their act, I was like, okay, they are that could go horribly wrong. That act, if one hand slipped or something, they because when they're on the top of the wheels, they could slip into the audience, because they're going so quick. So that in my justification was, okay, if I just got rid of all fear, all inhibitions, that would be the one that I would have the most chance of success of.
Yeah, I think so too, because it's like what you say. It's a lot of cardio you have to have for that. Of course, strength, which you can build, but then also technique. I think that is the hardest thing in all circus disciplines. Every discipline requires such specific technique, which is very hard to learn in 1 year. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't want this to be mistaken for me thinking that I actually could do it in 1 year, because that's not the case. But if I had to put my life on the line and play this game, that's the one I would do. Because also, they have a lot of stage presence. So there was a lot of like shouting at the crowd
Yes.
and aggression. And I was like, okay, I think I could do that part. So that's 50% of the job. Um, I joke. I joke. So how have you enjoyed Hong Kong, Kat? It's my favorite city in the world. I've lived here for 5 years. I would love to know your thoughts on what Hong Kong's been like.
Yeah, when I arrived here, I was like, wow, I'm in a different world. I'm not in a normal world anymore. Like, this is something different for sure. Um, it's it's very interesting. There is so many things going on, like everywhere. Everywhere you walk in a new building, there is 20 storages up. Like it's insane to me. Coming from a country like Belgium, where we have one mall in the whole country, it's like,
Yeah,
what
it's
is this?
pretty shocking, right? When you first arrive here, it's pretty shocking.
Yes, it's very intense. Um, and then some things I'm like, so some things they're so evaluated, like evolutionary, but some things are like still from 20 years ago. I'm like, how is this possible?
That's why I love
It's
this place.
crazy.
That's why I love it.
Yes. No, it's great. I love it too. Also, the amount of restaurants, the amount of like facilities is insane, but they have to because there's so many people here.
Mm.
They have to provide.
It's a really dense place, right? Like, and especially you guys based on Hong Kong Island, I can see it can be pretty intense at times.
Yeah.
What I would say, if you haven't already, which sounds like you have done all the touristy parts, I would try and check out all the beaches and go to the islands and things, because a lot of people would come to Hong Kong, my family and friends included. They come to Hong Kong and they see that skyline that you've got behind you in your hotel room, and that's what they think Hong Kong is, right? That's what they picture Hong Kong to be. It's like the business district, hustle and bustle. But
Mhm.
actually, you're a 20-minute boat ride away from a beautiful beach with barely anyone on it, and it's
Nice.
a really great part of Hong Kong. So if you haven't done it already, I would check out
Yeah.
the islands before you move on to another Asian city.
Yes.
I want to give you the best possible experience of Hong Kong,
Yeah, for sure.
so that it
Yeah,
beats Singapore.
a lot of people like have been going on hikes, and there's a lot of nature outdoors, which is also very nice. I'm very glad with, because on my days off, I don't want the dense
Mm.
people. You want to get out, you want to get some fresh air. So yeah, this is
Are you,
definitely
are you
nice.
allowed to do much outside of the circus then? Are you outside of I know you said you got 2 days off, but are you actually able to go out and explore, or have they put like
Yeah, yeah, for
restrictions on?
sure.
And
We're definitely able to go explore. The only thing we cannot do is like extreme sports like skiing or snowboarding,
yeah.
because that could danger. the show.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, I'm glad you're having a great time, and I'm so grateful to have watched you on the show. It's, again, I said it at the start of the podcast, I'll say it again at the end. It's probably the most crazy physical experience that I've ever had in my life watching a show. It's my heart rate must have been averaging about 180 for 2 hours straight. It was crazy. And I've already, I don't even work for you guys, right? I've got not getting paid to do this, but I've urged so many people to go and buy tickets just to watch the show whilst it's in Hong Kong. I think it was
That's
just,
amazing. Thank you.
it really is a such an amazing display of human potential and what we are, what's possible when you put your mind to things and when you train damn hard. And so when all's said and done, then Kat, how would you like to be remembered as a person, as an athlete, as a performer, but mainly as a person?
I think I would like to be remembered as a person who never gives up and always chase their dreams.
I love that.
Yeah, I think
And I
that.
mean, you've been you're 25 years old and you've already achieved a lot. So definitely keep doing what you're doing because it's working out. And I forgot to ask actually, what's I mean, hopefully you have a long, successful career in the circus still, but have you given any thought to what you would like to do after that? And when the day finally does come for you to kind of move on and move on to the next challenge?
Yeah, I think I would like to go into coaching. At the moment here, I'm also artist coach, strength and conditioning. So I help out with making the programs for the artists, doing some group classes, like
Oh, that's cool.
specific needs for the acts, for the tricks. And I'm really enjoying that. So yeah, I think that would be a good direction for me to go in.
Well, you know where a good place to live is for personal trainers? Hong Kong. It is, and I'm not just saying that. I'm not just saying that because Hong Kong, when I compare it to the UK, personal trainers in Hong Kong have really, really great careers because there's a lot of like private boutique gyms here and a lot of high earners. So you
Okay.
charge a lot more per hour as a personal trainer here. I'm not just saying that. A lot of my friends are
No, no, no,
PTs,
no.
and there's a lot of really high end gyms here. When you compare it to other countries around the world, because traditionally PTs aren't the highest paid. Obviously, there's niches in every country, but Hong Kong, you should look into it in 15
I
years' time.
remember that.
And so then, Kat, final question. As you know, the podcast is called Abnormal. It's for normal people like myself that want to do abnormal things, like yourself. You are, by definition, doing some incredibly abnormal things in your life. So for anyone out there listening who wants to do something abnormal in their lives, what would your one piece of advice be to them?
Just one, right?
Just one.
Just one. Um, I think it's very important to be a critical thinker. I don't know if that translates well in English, but I'm going to try to explain. So there is so much information at this moment in the world, social media, AI, just people research so much. I think it's so important to analyze that information, research more, and filter that information and really think for yourself what you actually need from that and which information you believe. And yes, it will take you more time to then actually come to the information you need to pursue your abnormality, but it will not be the easy way, but it will be the right way. And at the end of the story, you will have a much better product. I really believe in critical thinking. So
I was not expecting an answer like that. And that is fantastic. Kat,
okay.
thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It's great to finally talk to you. Well done for everything. It's great to have I'm so grateful that I got to watch you in show and then speak to you after, so that I've got all these questions lined up from that night. So thank you. Enjoy the rest of your time in Hong Kong, and
Yes,
enjoy the next stop, which is Korea, you said?
Korea, exactly.
Enjoy
Yes.
Korea. And wow, super impressive. And yeah, very, very exceptional person. So thank you for giving up the time to come on. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Abnormal. If you enjoyed, please consider subscribing to the channel and give us a 5-star review in whatever podcast platform you are listening or watching on right now, as it goes a long way to help growing the show. Thank you, and see you in the next one.